VDPA, Vermont Dairy Producers Alliance. Who we are, what we do, why we do it. Who we are. Vermont Dairy Producers Alliance is comprised of dairy farmers from farms of all sizes and partners of the farming industry. What we do. The Alliance supports and encourages the growth and viability of agriculture in Vermont while being mindful of the environmental impacts to Vermont's working landscape and waterways. The Alliance was formed to increase the voice of dairy farming, both within the legislative and regulatory arenas.
My name is Corey Parent. I'm a state senator for Franklin County and Alberg, and I serve on the Senate Agricultural Committee. Dairy farming is so important to the state of Vermont in all aspects of our health, whether it's environmental, physical, and economic. With our environment, our dairy farmers do so much to clean our water and keep our landscapes open. Health, they provide a nutritious product to all of our families, and economically, we look at our industrial parks and the infrastructure that they support. It's $2 billion to our state economy.
Why? Dairy farming alone contributes $2.2 billion in economic activity, brings in 13.5 million visitors every year, and accounts for more than 6,000 jobs in Vermont communities. The industry creates $3 million in circulating cash every day as part of the Vermont economy.
This helped us fill a void where we were able to start having some advocating and just helping people learn more about dairy farming and helping us on a political level, just making our presence known and making people aware that dairy farming is very vital to the economy here in Vermont, and we don't want it to go away, and we want dairy farming in Vermont to continue.
Dairy farming has become increasingly more difficult both financially and agriculturally. Milk pricing reflects the supply-demand balance of markets, both domestic and global, which at times fall below the cost of doing business. At the same time, Vermont farmers have been working to improve farm practices for cost efficiencies, productivity, and concerns pertaining to environmental quality. Together, we have impact.
VDPA has successfully advocated to limit air contaminant emission fees as they pertain to anaerobic digesters. We've also advocated for the Vermont Milk Commission to reconvene and evaluate proposals that focus on enhancing and stabilizing the dairy industry.
Having the Vermont Dairy Producers Alliance at the State House fighting for dairy farmers helps me do my job on the Senate Agricultural Committee and make sure we get the job done for you at the State House.
I always think it's good when farmers are always working together, and I think this does bring farmers together. And it's also good to have representation down at Montpelier on some of these issues that not all of us can get down there.
There's quite a few politicians that are 3-4 generations removed from dairy farming, and how can they represent us if they don't know what we're doing? So this provides someone to help bridge that gap, to help them educate them on the practices that we do, the different things that we're trying to do day to day to improve the environment, to improve farm health, and to improve the longevity of farming.
Join VDPA today. Call 802-777-4794 or visit us www.vtdpa.com.
We're dropping injectors and away we go. Right now we're injecting manure on Mike Benjamin's farm, and the benefits outweigh the costs when it comes to any of this manure stuff. Nutrients get into the soil and not in the atmosphere. Of course, it deadens the smell too, and everybody loves that. It also saves us a lot of step in getting our crops in too, because we do what they call vertical tilling. We're not moving the soil over, we're injecting the soil and come in with no-till corn planters and plant the corn. And so we're not moving soils for the erosion purposes. It stays in place. It's there's a lot of benefits with all this system here. We get that from Paul Stanley. He does the nutrients, and he does all the testing of the manure, and he sets up our management plan so we know what to put on the soil. How many gallons per acre is how we determine what we're doing, and he formulates all that for us.
They take soil samples and they determine the nutrients in the soil, and therefore you make up the lack of nutrients you make up with so much manure. And it's different for every field. They vary a little bit depending on the type of soil and what's grown and how much you get off of it and how long it's been corn. There's a lot of variable factors. The weather is a big factor. The more it rains, the more your nutrients leach. The manure pit is 3.6 million gallons, which is approximately 10 months storage for our dairy farm.
This frac tank is a lifesaver for me. So we put it in a neutral position somewhere that's good for us to load and unload for the trucks. So that's part of it. The next thing is that I go and I determine my target level, if I want 8,000 gallons or 6,000 gallons per acre. It does all kinds of stuff. It'll tell me my production rate. It tells me the gallons per acre and the amount of gallons that I put in a field. Right now we're at 400,000 gallons out here on a 50-acre field. My productivity says I have 2.5 acres left in this field to do. And your operating time, how many hours you've been in a certain field. The distance I've traveled, acres completed, average speed. The first year when I was doing it, I wanted to walk. I couldn't get all this new technology to work for me, old school as I am, and I really struggled with it. I really did. But now I wouldn't do it without it. It's such a tool. I know exactly what's going on back there by watching my gauge all the time. I can tell when I'm putting on. If something's wrong back there, it instantly will let me know. Keeps me in line. I know where I'm spreading because of the charts. Give you a bigger screen. I can go to different screens. This tells me what I've left. Those are some springs that we went around. It's just simply amazing, and it's a lot smarter than I'll ever be. I want to tell you it may be a little better because the nutrients are getting in the ground. I want to tell you that, but Mother Nature plays the real role. Is how well the corn really does. But we're seeing, I think, a more even rate in how the corn across the field is. It's not spotty as much. I think the corn's more even. I believe I'm going to lend that to the injection part because it's putting in the ground more even. It's not on top where it can run into a pocket or get away and run down into a ditch. It's in the soil, and we're seeing a lot more even cornfields. So this is how we load out of the frac tank. Wireless remote to a set of solenoids on the frac tank. And like I was saying, it only takes a couple of minutes to load this 6,200 gallon tank. So if the distance isn't very far traveling from where you're spreading back to your tank and you load and go, you can do probably 45 acres a day, depending on the travel distance. And also the application rate. If you're putting on heavier than 6,000 to 8,000 gallons, it takes a little longer, using more loads per acre, that's all.
We have to fertilize to make the crops grow, and we have to do something with our manure.
So if we don't have good crops, it's a lot of money spent for nothing, and bad crops, there's sick cows. We have to have our nutrients up in order to produce good feed, and good feed is healthy cows, and that's all there is to that. There's a whole lot more than that, but a lot of fields get too much phosphorus. So we have to back off some of that. That's probably one of the big contributors to the water that people are concerned over. And as a steward of the land, the farmers are concerned also, because it's our job to take care of that. And this is all part of it too. So it's a lot different than it used to be. Back in the day, we just got rid of it as a waste product, and now we're using it as a nutrient value. So when it comes down to the science end of it, we have to rely on people like Paul Stanley once again to do his job correctly and for us to follow his rules. So we're using a waste product to grow good crops, to have healthy cows. So it's a continuous cycle, a good cycle.
And 30 years ago, there was no injection. There was you spread pretty much all winter long. There was no winter spread ban, and now we inject our manure, a lot of it, and we get more nutrients out of the manure because they aren't as volatile and they don't go up in the air as much, and there's not as much runoff. Therefore, you should be able to put on less commercial fertilizer. We inject all of our corn. This is our, I believe, our 5th or 6th year, and we've done a little injecting around the Carmine watershed with the injectors they bought us, and it seems to be a win-win for everybody.